The phone started ringing just as I was about to board my flight, and normally I would have ignored it. Airport noise, people rushing, announcements echoing everywhere. But something told me to answer. The moment I heard my neighbor's voice, I knew this wasn't a normal call. He didn't say hello. He didn't even say my name. He just said, "Your garage, it's empty." I laughed for half a second because my brain refused to accept what he meant. Then he added, "A woman came this morning, said she owned the cars, sold them to a junkyard." My heart dropped straight into my stomach because I knew exactly who that woman was, and what she didn't know was that the cop who would be handling this case was me. Before we go any further, if you enjoy long, detailed real-life stories where entitled people cross the line and reality hits back hard, take a moment to like this video and subscribe. Karen Stories Daily is where we share these true stories, and your support helps the channel grow more than you realize. Now stay with me, because this story doesn't just get worse. Before it gets better, it gets unbelievable. Let me slow this down and give you some context, because this didn't start with stolen cars. It started with jealousy and assumptions. I've been a cop for years. Long shifts, late nights, stressful calls. Like a lot of people in this line of work, I needed something that helped me shut my brain off. For me, that was classic cars, not flashy supercars. Real classics. Old engines, chrome details, cars with history. I bought them slowly over time, restored them with my own hands, and kept them locked inside my garage, registered, insured, documented. Everything clean. The neighbor across the street had a problem with them from day one. She complained they were ugly, said they lowered property value, claimed I was running some kind of illegal operation. None of it was true. The garage doors were almost always closed. The cars weren't on the street. But none of that mattered to her. She just didn't like that I had something she didn't control. I stayed polite. Always. That's part of the job. You learn quickly that reacting emotionally only makes things worse. She'd make comments when she saw me outside. "Must be nice wasting money on junk." Or, "Those should be scrapped." I ignored it. I thought that would be the end of it. A few weeks later, I had to leave town for mandatory training. 3 days. That's it. Before I left, I double-checked everything. Garage locked. Alarm set. Cameras running. Nothing out of the ordinary. I had no reason to think anything would happen. On the second day, while I was hundreds of miles away, she decided to act. She showed up at my house with confidence and paperwork that looked official enough to fool the wrong people. She told the junkyard she was the homeowner, that the cars were abandoned, and that she had every right to sell them. And because she acted like she belonged there, because she spoke with authority, no one questioned her. One by one, my cars were loaded up and taken away. Years of work, gone in a single morning. Back at the airport, after that phone call ended, I didn't panic. I didn't yell. I asked my neighbor one question. "Did you call the police?" He said yes. I told him everything would be handled. Then I turned around, walked out of the terminal, and drove straight back home. When I walked into the garage, it was silent. Too silent. Empty space where cars should have been, oil stains on the floor, tire marks leading out. That's when the weight of it finally hit. Not anger, focus. Because at that moment, this wasn't just personal, it was a crime. I went straight to the station and asked for the report. The desk officer looked at me like I'd grown a second head. "You're listed as the victim," he said. I nodded. "I know, and I'm also the investigator. Assign it to me." From that moment on, everything changed. And trust me, once the case was officially assigned to me, something shifted in my mind. The shock faded and training took over. I wasn't thinking like a guy who'd just lost something personal anymore. I was thinking like a cop. Timelines, evidence, motive, opportunity. Everything she thought she'd hidden behind confidence was about to be pulled apart piece by piece. The first stop was the junkyard. I drove there the same afternoon, still in plain clothes, badge tucked away. At first, the manager treated me like any other customer. The moment I identified myself and explained why I was there, his tone changed completely. He insisted everything was legal, said the woman had paperwork, said she looked official. I asked it to see the documents. They were bad. Really bad. Photocopied forms with no proper signatures. No titles. No transfer records. Nothing a legitimate sale would ever include. I asked him one simple question. Did you verify ownership with the DMV? He went quiet. That's when I knew this case was about to get much bigger. I requested surveillance footage. The moment the video started playing, there she was, clear as day, confident smile, talking with her hands, signing forms she had no right to sign, accepting cash. Not once did she hesitate. Not once did she look unsure. That confidence, that sense of control is what fooled them. And it's also what sealed her fate. By the time I left the junkyard, I had enough evidence to upgrade the case from theft to fraud. Multiple counts, each car sold separately, each one its own charge. Next, I reviewed her statement from the initial police report. She claimed the cars were abandoned, said she had verbal permission, even suggested she was helping clean up the neighborhood. None of that lined up with the evidence. The cars were locked in a private garage. The property was occupied. The homeowner was away temporarily. Every claim she made fell apart under basic scrutiny. When I knocked on her door later that evening, she answered with the same confidence I'd seen on the footage. That lasted about 10 seconds. I introduced myself. Her smile froze when she realized who I was. I told her I was investigating the theft of several vehicles from my property. She tried to talk over me, tried to explain, tried to say it was a misunderstanding. I listened. Then I asked her to explain the paperwork. She couldn't. I informed her she was under investigation for grand theft auto, fraud, and destruction of property. Her face went pale. She suddenly remembered she needed a lawyer. Over the next few days, the case built itself. Bank records showed deposits from the junkyard. Phone records showed calls she made arranging the pickup. Neighbor statements confirmed she supervised the removal. The junkyard owner, realizing his own exposure, cooperated fully. Then came the hardest part for me. I learned that my cars were already gone, crushed, parted out, destroyed, years of work erased. I won't lie. That hurt more than anything else in this story. But pain doesn't stop the process. Evidence doesn't care about emotions. Charges were filed. Court dates were set. The story spread fast. The same neighbor who once complained about my junk was now being talked about for something much worse. And while all of this was happening, she still didn't fully understand what she'd done. She thought she'd crossed a neighbor. She hadn't realized she'd crossed the law. By the time the case reached court, the story had completely flipped. What started as cleaning up junk cars turned into a full criminal case, with charges stacked neatly on top of each other. Sitting in that courtroom felt strange. I wasn't there in uniform. I wasn't there behind the bench. I was there as the victim, watching someone finally understand that confidence without authority doesn't protect you from consequences. The prosecution laid everything out slowly and clearly. Surveillance footage from the junkyard played on a large screen. Her face was unmistakable, calm, smiling, signing documents she had no legal right to touch. The junkyard manager testified next. He admitted he failed to verify ownership, trusted her word, and paid her in cash. That alone caused a ripple through the room. When bank records were introduced showing the deposits, there was no room left for denial. Then came neighbor testimonies. Multiple people confirmed seeing her supervise the removal of the cars. One neighbor even said she bragged about finally getting rid of those ugly things. Each statement chipped away at the version of events she tried to sell at the beginning. When her defense tried to argue misunderstanding, the judge shut it down quickly. The cars were locked inside a private garage. The homeowner was temporarily away. No legal document existed giving her permission. There was no gray area. This wasn't a mistake. It was intentional. The verdict didn't take long. She was found guilty on multiple counts of grand theft auto, fraud, and unlawful sale of property. Restitution was ordered far beyond what she expected. Not just the estimated value of the cars, but additional damages and penalties. The junkyard lost its operating license for failing to follow proper verification procedures. That part sent a message through the entire local industry. I won't lie and say the ending felt perfect. I didn't get my cars back. They were gone forever. No amount of money replaces something you built with your own hands. But what I did get was accountability. And in my line of work, that matters more than people realize. After the case, things changed in the neighborhood. People were quieter, more respectful. The same woman who once walked around acting untouchable avoided eye contact entirely, and I went back to my normal routine. Long shifts, quiet evenings, a garage that would eventually hold new projects. I'm sharing this story on Karen Stories Daily because situations like this happen more often than people think. When someone believes confidence equals control, they stop asking questions. And that's when lines get crossed. If you're still watching right now, thank you. Seriously. It means a lot that you stayed through the entire story. If this kept you engaged, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next one. Stories like this take time to tell properly, and your support helps that happen. I'd really like to hear from you in the comments. Have you ever dealt with someone who acted like they had authority they didn't actually have? Or someone who crossed a line and thought they'd get away with it? Share your experience. You never know who might relate to it. And if this story shocked you, frustrated you, or gave you that sense of justice at the end, please share it with someone who enjoys real-life stories where actions have real consequences. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting Karen Stories Daily. And I'll see you in the next story.